Okay, so this story was pretty interesting to read because I think it perfectly depicts how easily someone can turn on their words, like whenever it isn't beneficial or could kind of go awry for them. Chapter 25 really explored a situation where a beginning journalist interviewed a professor at her university on a pretty sensitive subject to that particular school. During the interview, consent to use his words and recording were given, and then later on, he suddenly took that consent back. The student explained in her recording several times what her purpose of the interview was, but despite that, he really wouldn't budge on his consent. So the reporter knew that she was fine to publish if she chose to, and that she did everything right, but this was kind of a professor that she didn't want to burn any bridges with, because you never really want to do that in a system where you could easily deal with that person again, especially when you're likely to have him as a professor. So several students were complaining and stressed out because their grades were basically being withheld from them in this particular class, which prevented them from graduation applications, furthering their career, delaying grad school, and a lot of other really important adult life things. So the student reporter Jennifer Collins decided to do some investigating on the situation and talk to both the students and professor about some missing grades. Collins really wasn't sure that she wanted to make a story out of it, but ultimately decided to take further steps in investigating, which is when she scheduled an interview with the professor and learned that he was basically not submitting grades in protest to the school regarding obligations, pay, respect, etc. He revealed all of this during the interview, and it provided for a pretty intense story, but then recalled all of what he said and wouldn't let Collins source him or use anything that he said. So eventually the situation was worked out, and as Collins was writing her story, the professor actually ended up submitting all of the missing grades and resolving the situation. So all it really took for him to do that was a little pressing. As far as how I feel about the situation, I feel that Jennifer really did handle the situation well. I don't personally see that there was any way she could have done it better. She didn't burn any bridges, and she really created a solid story that would serve for the betterment of the students at the university. And she pressed this professor to do the right thing and get those grades in so that the future of his students wouldn't be, a mess at the time. In my position, I probably wouldn't have been so gracious about not burning the bridge with that professor, just in hopes that maybe he wouldn't be around after that, but whatever. However, I really do applaud her for her maturity and for applying her best knowledge and judgment to the situation at hand.